Minimalists.
How do you balance setting boundaries with a child and allowing them room to explore and learn about who they are?
You know, I think this is fascinating, Damon, because this is the obviously we've needed boundaries for millennia, right? Even pre-agriculture, when we were living in caves, there were boundaries so we didn't get eaten by a apex predator, right? So even then, parents needed to set up boundaries. I think the difference now is quite often we set up these sort of arbitrary boundaries that are in a way harmful to our children. Is that fair?
Yeah, we send mixed messages and we don't let them explore. I mean, when you're starting with boundaries, you start with safety, right? You can't touch the hot stove.
Yeah.
The 1 or 2 year old, you can't touch the hot stove. You can't touch the electrical outlets. You're going to hold my hand when we're near the street. Yeah. Those kind of boundaries. But you can let them explore and let them ramble. I always say never lift a child into a tree. But if they can climb it, they can climb as high as they want because they can get down if they can climb it. And so you have your boundaries, but also let them operate within their strengths, abilities, and own personal limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was something pithy for you, Sean, to put in the show notes about the tree climbing. That's solid.
Yeah, that's great.
I got something pithy for you here. Our desire to control impedes our ability to love. So I think quite often I feel as though I want to control Ella, right? And because there's a certain righteousness in me when I do it as well. And if I'm completely honest, there's a disdain for her behavior. And that disdain is really a mirror reflecting my own disdain for parenting, lack of parenting, my own flaws, etc. Yeah. So I think whenever I try to control someone, especially my child, it often impedes my ability to love them, to be loving. And I think sometimes we confuse things that feel loving with the act of loving. It might feel loving in that moment to styrofoam or to bubble wrap everything to keep her safe, but that's not an act of love. That's an act of fear.
I'm going to take the next 90 minutes to answer that question because there are so many levels there. The first level is it has to do with your expectations.
Yes.
I expect a certain outcome, and if it doesn't go that way, then I'm disappointed. That's your own personal issues, your own baggage. You got to deal with that.
Yes.
But you have to make sure your expectations are realistic. So if you have a 5-year-old and you're wondering how I can get them to want to clean their room, that's not realistic. 5-year-olds don't want to clean their room. They might learn how to clean their room, or they might learn that they have to clean their room, but they're not going to want to. And if that's your expectation, you're going to constantly be disappointed in your child, which is really disappointed in your own expectation. The second thing to know is, we talked about boundaries. And if you ever rode a roller coaster, and I'm sure you have, the first thing you do when you get into a roller coaster is you pull that safety bar down.
Oh, yeah.
And the next thing you do, everybody shakes it. Right?
Yeah.
You shake it because you want to make sure it's going to be there when you need it.
Right.
That's what your kids are going to do. They're going to shake you. You're going to put your rule, and they're going to shake you. And you can't take that personally. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to test whether or not it's a real thing that's going on here. So that's really important to know that they're going to test you. And I guess the third point to emphasize is, Sting says if you love someone, you got to let them go, right? As your kids get older, you have to give them more freedom to be who they are. They have to find their friends and figure out what their passions and interests are, and it may not be yours. And so I talk to teens all the time, and I say to them, you've got to help your parents let go. You have to let them know that you're safe by letting them know that you'll be at home at a certain time and then come home at a certain time. That's how you're preparing them for you going off to college and becoming an adult. Because parenting is traumatizing. Parenting is absolutely traumatizing. I mean, we're in the middle of the night. We're up at 2 a.m. holding our child who's diarrheaed all over us and thrown up on us and doing all this. It's traumatizing. So by the time you have a teenager, we all have parenting PTSD a little bit.
Yeah.
And the way you deal with somebody with PTSD is you give them assurances, and not just tell them, but you show them over and over it's going to be okay. And that's what I need teens to learn to do to their parents, is to show us that it's going to be okay. So when it's time to let go, we as parents are able to do that. It's a two-way street.
It's really great advice for parents with teenagers, because it seems like the parents are always setting the boundaries, but asking the teenagers to do that, it's not a huge ask, and it creates a great relationship with their parents. That's great advice. My pithy answer is this: we often don't discover our boundaries until they've been crossed. So what I mean by that is there are the obvious boundaries that parents can set. Don't touch the hot stove. Hold my hand as we're crossing the street. Look both ways. Wear your seatbelt. There are these obvious boundaries. But then there are some boundaries that aren't so obvious. Like, when is the appropriate curfew? When is the appropriate age to start dating? I mean, there are these things that I feel like, and again, not having kids, it's so easy to give parenting advice. So you tell me, Damon, how if I'm way off base here. But I feel like as a parent, you have to be willing to let your kids fail a little bit. So what I mean by that is I grew up, like, my dad was a very strict Christian father. So I had these boundaries that I was constantly crossing that he had set because they were a little bit too extreme. My mom was on the other side where she gave me no boundaries. So I had to kind of discover, what my boundaries were with her. But yeah, what do you think about that as far as like what can we tell parents to help them maybe be okay with like letting their kids fail a little bit and discovering those boundaries on their own? So,
there is no perfect parenting book because every child is different.
You mean your book isn't the perfect parenting book?
It's really close. In fact, what I try to do is I try to talk in terms of concepts, parenting concepts. These are the big picture things, because to apply it to individual children, if I say this is the best way to do this, it really depends on your child, on their temperament and their experiences, because you're right. Every boundary can be crossed in a different way, and you can't predict and anticipate every single way.
Right.
So yeah, it really depends on the way your child's going to turn, and then you fall back on the basics.
Yeah.
What's the big picture here? Why am I upset? And fall back on that, because if you can model big picture thinking when you're dealing with, that's it, I'm taking away your phone for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, just because they swore at me, is that really worth taking away their phone for 3 weeks? Maybe they swore at me because they were really mad at me, and maybe there's a reason for them to be mad. You have to step back and see the big picture. But yeah, they'll cross boundaries you never even knew existed.